Prime Minister, is it important that politicians stick to their word?
Yes, it is important that politicians stick to their word. They have to make decisions against a difficult backdrop, and we've obviously got big decisions to make in the budget that's coming in just a few days' time.
So I've got your manifesto here. Will you keep your word not to increase taxes on working people? It's on page 21 in this document.
Well, we made that commitment, and obviously we'll lay out our plans at the budget, which is just a few days away now, so you'll be able to see exactly what decisions we've made. Now, obviously, we make those decisions against a very difficult backdrop. We had the '08 crash, where people haven't felt much better off since then. We then had austerity for a number of years, which destroyed our public services. Then had a botched Brexit deal, which damaged our economy, and then then COVID and the conflict in Ukraine. But we will make. It's very important that we take the right decisions for our country. I'm optimistic about the future of this country. I absolutely believe that this can be much better on living standards, on our public services, and on how people feel.
You told me a year ago, days before the 2024 budget in Chogham, you said we made an absolute commitment that income tax wouldn't go up, national insurance wouldn't go up, their VAT, as in working people, wouldn't go up. I said that in the campaign, we're going to keep those promises. Will you make that commitment again today?
Well, Beth, we're going to set this out in just a few days.
You won't, will you?
Well,
you said that just a few days before the last budget.
You know
you
that
did make the commitment before the last budget.
You know that the decisions will be made and set out in full in just a few days' time.
You're not going to.
You'll be able to.
Will you make the commitment again now? You won't, will you?
You will be able to hold me to account, Beth, when those principles, when those decisions set out. But
you
the
won't
principles,
rule out tax rises on working people.
The principles will be fairness, and the three things that I'm bearing down above all else is protecting our public services, the NHS, cutting our debt, which is vitally important, and dealing with the cost of living crisis. Because for most people watching this, the cost of living will be their number one issue, and that's why it needs to be the number one priority of the government.
Cost of living. You won't rule out tax rises. You won't repeat your commitment not to raise taxes on working people. Freezing tax thresholds beyond 2028.
All I've said is we will set out our plans on Wednesday.
It's going to hurt working people, isn't it? Freezing tax thresholds.
Well, we're going to set out our plans on Wednesday. You will see them set out in full, and then you'll absolutely be rightly holding me to account for the decisions that we've made.
Your Chancellor said in last year's budget, freezing the thresholds will hurt working people. She's right, isn't she? I'm not asking you about the budget, I'm just asking you if it would hurt working people.
We are going to set out our decisions. We will have absolutely in mind that the cost of living is the number one issue for people across the country. And then we will make, they'll be fully set out.
During the election, you promised not to raise taxes on working people. You put it in your manifesto.
We did.
Before the budget last year in Chogham, I asked you this, you recommitted to that. I just want to say on record now, you are not recommitting to that today, are you?
Well, it's only a matter of days now to the budget. We will set out our plans in that budget. I've set out what the principles are, and I can tell you, I mean, politics for me is about who do you have in your mind's eye.
It's working people, and you're going to put their taxes up.
I have in my mind's eye people who are struggling with cost of living, who can't necessarily make ends meet. And that's political. It's also personal. When I was growing up, we couldn't always make ends meet. We couldn't always pay our bills. I know what it feels like to be in your kitchen around the table, wondering which bills you're not going to be able to pay this month. And so having who you have in your mind's eye is really important. That's what I've got in my mind's eye as we go into this budget.
Okay, PM, you promised to end the chaos when you were elected, but since the summer we've had winter fuel U-turn, welfare U-turn, Rayner's resignation, Mandelson's sacking, Andy Burnham's leadership drama, the Wes Street in number 10 showdown, pitch rolling in income tax rises only to U-turn. You haven't ended chaos, you are the chaos.
Look, every minute that we're not talking about the cost of living is a wasted minute.
But this is chaos.
But at the same time, we have delivered free childcare for children between 9 months and 4 years. That's a game changer for children when they're in their education, and for parents and carers. Only yesterday we were rolling out the extension of free breakfast clubs. We're freezing prescription charges. We're maintaining the cap on bus fares.
So none of the stuff that I've just mentioned, that you're just going to gloss over that and not acknowledge that this is chaotic?
No, I'm not. But I'm really conscious of the fact that what the majority of people want to know is if my number one issue is paying the bills and making sure I can make ends meet, what are you doing about that? And that's why it's important for me to say these are the measures we're taking.
Are you let me put it another way. Are you disappointed about what's been going on in your Downing Street since September?
I think that every minute that we're not bearing down on the cost of living is a wasted minute, frankly, for the government and for the country.
PM, you described Hartlepool as a very, very low moment for you when you lost that by-election. It was a hard period. Has there been another moment like that for you since being Prime Minister? Because it's been rough.
Well, I always knew that turning around the country after 14 years of Conservative failure was going to be difficult and would take time. I said as much before the election. But look, we've done a lot of interviews, and you will know that when I took over as leader of the Labour Party, I was challenged I'd never be able to change the Labour Party. We did. I was then challenged that the Labour Party, having lost very badly in 2019, would not be able to win in 2024, and we did. And now I'm challenged on the basis that we can't turn the country around. I say we can, and I say that we will. And I will be judged at the next general election, above all else, I think, on whether people feel better off, whether public services are better, particularly the NHS, and whether they feel safe and secure.
PM, so I'm interrupting because I'm being told I need to stop.
Okay.
After the 2021 by-election loss, in 2024 you told me you thought about standing down because you said, I didn't feel that I should be bigger than the party. If I couldn't bring change, perhaps there should be a change in leadership. Are you absolutely sure you're going to lead the party into the next general election?
That's why, given half a chance, I want to explain the change we're bringing about, because some of the things we're doing, free childcare for 9 months to 4 years, is a game changer for children. This is really important change that we're bringing about for the country.
If you become a drag on the Labour brand, your popularity ratings are bad, would you consider standing down,
Beth,
if you hold the party back?
I, as leader of this party, won a landslide victory just a year ago on a simple mandate to change the country. That is what I focus on every day of the week, and I'll be judged at the next general election on whether I have brought about the change that people voted for the next general election.
So you do intend to lead the party into the general election?
Yes, and I'll be judged at the next general election on whether we have been able to make people feel better off. That's what people want above all else. They want their public services restored after the decimation. They particularly want their health service to be the service that they think they deserve and are entitled to, quite frankly.
Any doubt that you
and they
might
also
not be
want to know they're safe and secure.
No doubt.
We won that mandate. It was a mandate for change, and I'll be judged at the next election on whether we've brought about the change that people voted for when they voted last July.
Final question. I asked you at party conference what you thought about Nigel Farage. You said he was formidable. Now you're saying he's spineless. Why? What's going on, and what do you think about the reform development with Nathan Gill
I'll point to two things there. First, he's had a fellow MP in Reform who said, I think she said, that she's fed up with seeing black and Asian faces on the television. That's shocking. That's racist. And Nigel Farage hasn't got the spine to do anything about it. And then today, we see the sentencing of the ex-leader in Wales of Reform for pro-Russian bribery, undermining our country. So Nigel Farage, he often has a lot to say. What he needs to do is to launch an investigation into his party, to understand how that happened. This is a serious sentence that's been imposed today, over 10 years. It's a very serious issue. How did that happen, that this was happening in his party? And what other links are there between Reform and Russia? And that would be the mark of a leader, and that's what he should do.
Do you think Nigel Farage is racist? We've had this conversation, and you wouldn't go there, will you now?
Well, I think that what he should do, when he can see what to me is clear racism, a fellow MP saying, I'm fed up with black and Asian faces on my television. That to me is racism. I suspect it is for most people watching this, but he hasn't got the spine to call it out. He's got plenty to say about plenty of things, but when it comes to the fundamentals, he can't call it out. And now he needs to deal with this pro-Russian bribery. It's not just a serious criminal offence, it undermines our country. It's serious. The first duty of a Prime Minister, of a leader, is to keep our country safe. So he needs to launch that investigation.
Okay, final thing, you going to China in January?
There's no details being confirmed in relation to that, but our approach to China, as you know, is to cooperate where we can and challenge where we must.
I'm worried it's a threat.
Well,
China threat.
cooperate where we can, challenge where we must. Where there are issues, you saw last week in relation to espionage, we set out in a statement to Parliament the robust measures that we're taking along with MI5, because we will always protect our national interests above all else.
Okay, Prime Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.